What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video, and today I woke up and decided why not rank the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. If I was a general manager, if I was a head coach, which of these guys would I want as my wide receiver one going into the next season trying to win a Super Bowl? And I feel like whenever I see people make lists like this, they go to that tier list making website and they just kind of generalize subcategories. They'll be like, you're the elite wide receivers, you're the good and average wide receivers. It's like, that's boring, that's predictable, and I don't like shit like that. As you may know, on this channel, I love to have conversation with you guys, and I feel like when everybody agrees, there's not much conversation to be had. I want people to disagree with me. It's not like I'm going to put up some absurd list where AJ Green is in the top 3 or something stupid like that, so there's bound to be a disagreement. But this is honestly going to be my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers in the NFL, and there's bound to be a disagreement if it's not, generalized like these tier list making websites make them. Also, for the sake of your time and my time as well, instead of wasting 20 minutes of your time, I'm going to put up 6 through 10 first, and then talk about the reasonings why I have guys where I have them, and then I'm going to put up 1 through 5 and then talk about those reasonings as well. Instead of going through 1 through 3, like that just takes way too long. I could talk about each guy for over 20 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. So I'll just generalize it pretty quickly between 6 through 10 and then 1 through 5. I'll have timestamps down below. But anyway, let's hop right into it. Actually, one more quick thing. You guys know the drill, Mott's applesauce. There's actually somebody commented down below the other day that I should have those Welch's fruit snacks. Obviously, I know Welch's are very good. Like, that's just common sense. Welch's fruit snacks hit. But this, like, I've grown up on Mott's applesauce. I've been eating applesauce since I feel like I was, like, 4 years old. This is me, man. This is applesauce. Enough jibber jabber. Let's hop right into the list. I'll throw up 6 through 10 on the screen right here. And I'm sure your jaw has already dropped. You're probably like, what the hell is this kid talking about? And I'm sure the first thing you saw is Michael Thomas, and you're like, why is Michael Thomas so low? And everybody's going to seize over Michael Thomas. So that is where I will start. Michael Thomas, I feel like he is extremely overhyped. He's a very good wide receiver, don't get me wrong, but he's only elite at what he is good at. Everybody else I have on this list is an elite wide receiver overall. I feel like if you put Michael Thomas out of his element and say like a Devonta Adams role where he's got a lot more responsibility, I feel like he's not as elite as he is in just his little, bubble of slant routes and drag routes and all that bullshit he runs. I mean, he's got the name Slant Boy for a reason, and as uneducated or, stereotypical as that may sound, that is what he is good at, and I feel like if you just put him out of his element, he would just not be as good as anybody else on this list. Not to mention the dude is an absolute bitch. He's an extremely large crybaby. The dude fights with his teammates at practice. He's always complaining on the field. He's literally always complaining on Twitter. This dude is the biggest whiner on the planet. He puts the diva in wide receiver, if that makes sense. He's literally your wide receiver diva. He fits that description perfectly. I just can't stand him. And honestly, if it weren't for the fact that I would be crucified if he wasn't on this list, I wouldn't have him on the list. That's the only reason why I have him on this list, because I would get destroyed if he wasn't. These next two guys you're probably confused by as well, and I'm sure if I told you to make a top 10 wide receiver list before you saw this video, or before you saw my list rather, you would not have Odell Beckham on the list. This guy has fallen off in the sense that he's been forgotten about. It's not his fault. He's been derailed by injuries and, a lack of volume in Cleveland. It's certainly not his fault, but when he is at his best, when he's 100% healthy, he is 100% one of, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think people remember what he was capable of. His ability to take over games, running after the catch, catching balls in contested coverage. He could do it all. It's actually rather sad. I feel like he's genuinely been forgotten about as one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL, and it's almost unfair because his ability, I just can go on and on about Odell Beckham. You could say he's a diva, you could say he's a bitch as well. I feel like that's just competitiveness. There's a difference between Michael Thomas bitch made and then Odell Beckham competitiveness. I feel like there's a fine line there. I'm not going to go into that, but Odell Beckham, I feel like he's a great competitor. He's just been derailed by injuries, and I think people often forget how freaking good he was, and they're so quick to throw a DK Metcalf or a Justin Jefferson on this list without remembering how good a healthy Odell Beckham is. Now, number 8, another guy I'm sure you probably wouldn't even have on your own list is Allen Robinson. If you gave this guy Drew Brees like Michael Thomas has had his entire career, Allen Robinson probably is on his way to the Hall of Fame. Like, this dude is putting up elite numbers with the most mediocre quarterbacks on planet Earth. I made a whole video about it. I don't want to get into Allen Robinson all that much because, like I just said, I made an entire video about it explaining my feelings about Allen Robinson, but long story short, this guy is so underrated. He's so damn good, and he's been playing with the worst wide receivers in the NFL. Out of any of these guys on this list, he's had the worst of the quarterbacks, and it's not even close. If he had a good quarterback for once in his career, he would be, I don't know what kind of numbers he would put up. It would be ridiculous. So if you want to go check out that Allen Robinson video I made, I'll have it down in the description below. But as far as Kenan Allen and Mike Evans go, I feel like they're just unanimously in the top 10 for everybody. If you don't have these guys in your top 10, you got something screwed up. I mean, Kenan Allen is one of the best, if not the best route runner in the NFL. Mike Evans has not had a single season in the NFL where he hasn't gone over 1,000 yards. Ever since 2014 when he was drafted, he has had a 1,000-yard season each and every time. Not to mention the dude has 3 different seasons where he has double-digit touchdowns. I mean, Mike Evans could even be in your top 5. I mean, this guy is a monster. He's a freak. He was built in a factory. Mike Evans is absolutely deserving to be on this list. Kenan Allen, his route running puts him on this list alone. But there is my 6 through 10. Let's just hop right into 1 through 5. No time to waste here, right? So who are my top 5 wide receivers? I'm sure you can predict who the top 5 are, but I guarantee you cannot predict the order they are in. So here is my top 5 wide receivers. Obviously, you're probably going to say, oh, the Bills fan, of course he has Stefan Diggs in the top 3. Did you not just see the season he had? How could he not be in your top 3? Anyway, addressing the rest of this list, Tyree Kill, I feel like he's just too much of a game changer not to have in your top 5. He has transformed the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have a lot to do with that as well, but I don't think people understand that Tyree Kill's ability to stretch the field is what allows Travis Kelce to get open underneath. It's what allows everybody else to get open underneath. Tyree Kill's ability to stretch the field helps the team in so many different ways, not just when he's catching the ball, not when the ball's just in his hands, but when he's just running down the field. I don't think people understand Tyree Kill's ability and the threat he brings to opposing defenses. And we have seen speed like Tyree Kill in the NFL before. Like, obviously, he's one of the fastest dudes in the world, but we've seen John Ross, Marquise Goodwin. I mean, we've seen fast-ass guys in the NFL before, but what makes Tyree Kill different is his ability to be deceptive so far down the field. People can guard speed. I mean, it's not that hard to guard somebody that's fast, but when they're fast and deceptive and they're quick, that is when it gets dangerous, and that's what Tyree Kill has. He's that combination of deceptive and fast, and you don't get that very often. I mean, Marquise Goodwin was an Olympic sprinter, but he did not have the same deception that Tyree Kill has. That is what differentiates a guy like Tyree Kill from your John Rosses and your Marquise Goodwins. He's deceptive. So he absolutely deserves to be in the top 5. Julio Jones would be my number 1, but he just cannot stay healthy. He is the modern day Megatron. He just cannot stay healthy, but he is bigger, he's faster, he's stronger than every single person you could put up against him, every single wide receiver you could have next to him. He is bigger, stronger, and faster no matter what, but he's just too big and too strong and too fast for his own good. He's always freaking injured. And if you didn't know, that's exactly what was happening to Calvin Johnson. He was too big, too strong, too fast for his body's own good. He was constantly getting injured, and that's pretty much the same thing we have with Julio Jones. But when they're both freaking out, oh my God. Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL individually, and it's not even close when he's healthy. But you just do not get a healthy Julio Jones enough, and therefore he's unfortunately 4th. But his ability is way too good not to have him in the top 5. I'm taking Julio Jones as my wide receiver 1 any day of the week if I have the opportunity. He's just way too good to pass up on a guy like him. Stefan Diggs, I get it. You could probably sit here and say, oh, he's only had 1 good season. But I mean, he's always been very good. He just never got the ball. I mean, there's various videos of people yelling at Kirk Cousins, his receivers yelling at him because they just don't throw him the ball. It's the same case for Stefan Diggs. He was just never getting the ball. Now that he's getting volume, he's the elite wide receiver. He could have been in Minnesota. He's just getting the ball now. I mean, if Kenan Allen's not the best route runner in the NFL, it is Stefan Diggs. The dude gets open on anybody. He can torch anybody down the field, in the middle of the field, short on the field. He can do anything. He can do it all. He could run after catch. Stefan Diggs is your all-around receiver. Deandre Hopkins, same case, except I think Deandre Hopkins has slightly better hands. I think he's obviously the better jump ball receiver. DeAndre Hopkins obviously is known for this past year for the Hail Mary. Obviously, we don't have to talk about it. I mean, I don't have to speak to why DeAndre Hopkins is in the top 3. Do I really have to explain to you why DeAndre Hopkins is the top 3? I really don't think I have to. So then we get to Devonta Adams. Obviously, you can't not have a top 3 without Devonta Adams in it. I'm sure you could sit here and say, yeah, I agree with you, but I also would have DeAndre Hopkins as my number 1. I'm sure it's interchangeable for a lot of different people. But for me, when Devonta Adams is playing on the field, he is dominating. It doesn't matter. I feel like Devonta Adams' ability to be consistently dominant is what separates him from everybody else on this list. As long as Devonta Adams is on the field and he's dressed and he's 100% healthy, which I mean isn't always the case, but even let's say 80 to 90% healthy, he is dominating the opposing defense. It doesn't matter. He is constantly dominating, and I feel like nobody else does that as much as he does. And not to mention, the dude pumps out touchdowns like Phillip Rivers pumps out kids. Like, this dude is catching touchdowns game after game, week after week. This guy is always scoring. He's the best red zone threat in the NFL. NFL. I just feel like Devonta Adams' ability to be consistently dominant is what separates everybody from Devonta Adams. I feel like nobody is as dominant on a consistent basis as Devonta Adams is. DeAndre Hopkins could be that same level of dominant. I just feel like he just doesn't do it as often as Devonta Adams does. And I get it. He's got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, but he has no fellow wide receiver to take attention away from him. I mean, he's literally being triple teamed left and right, and you just can't stop Devonta Adams. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is very good. Let's not get that twisted. But Devonta Adams does it by himself. He does all the work along the sideline. He does all the work in the middle of the field. He does all the work himself. He gets himself open. Aaron Rodgers makes the throws, but Devonta Adams makes the catches. He gets open, and he does all the running after catch. So Devonta Adams, he's consistently dominant. That is why he is your number one, my number one. So there's my list. I'm sure you could probably sit here and say, oh, where's DK Metcalf? Where's Justin Jefferson? I feel like you just cannot put guys that have been in the league for such a short time in your top 10 already. Maybe right the second you could say they're top 10 wide receivers, but you cannot forget the ability, the talent, the domination that these guys in the top 10 have had in the past up to this point. You cannot forget about that. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr., I'm taking him as my wide receiver 1 over Justin Jefferson, over DK Metcalf any day of the week because he is so dominant. He is so complete. He is your everything wide receiver. It's just about him being healthy, and that's you know, the hump you got to get over. But I'm still taking him over, you know, all these young guys that are just coming out right now. But I want to know what your list would look like. I want to know what you disagree with my list. Anything else you may have to say about football, hockey, anything like that, leave it down in the comments below. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I would appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there. I would appreciate that as well. But I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.